Hey, welcome everybody. It is 7 o'clock. Time for Sci-Fi Distilled. Welcome back, Mary Beth. How are you doing? Hey, there's Bill, our one viewer. Hey, Bill. Oh, wait, there's two. I can't hear you, Mary Beth. You're muted. Don't hear you. Don't. It says you. It says shows muted on your little icon there.
I don't.
There you go. Oh,
Okay, can
oh,
you hear
there
me
you
now?
go.
I
Now,
don't. Just
now I can hear you.
FYI, that's an auto mute when you start the countdown. Just so you
Yes,
know,
it is, but it usually unmutes
it
automatically. I don't
usually
know why
auto
it did
unmutes
not.
too. I was
Okay.
just saying that we are under our 147th winter weather advisory for this winter. Like it never ends.
This
It
has been
just
a bad
keeps.
winter, annoying winter. I call it annoying, not really so much. Well, you guys got hit more in that last storm than I got. Nothing. I got a quarter of an inch. But yeah, we got last night. We got 4 inches of wet snow, which is just that's just a nuisance level for us. We don't really
Uh,
start to take notice until they start talking about over a foot. Honestly,
yeah, I mean that's kind of when we get worried too. But when it's like 3 inches and then three
my
inches and then
my
3 inches.
mom down in Southern Connecticut, she lives in Madison. She's like in this condo, like it's like a separate building. It's not a condo, it's like attached, but it's its own little in this condo complex. And she was buried. So she had so much snow she couldn't come out her front door, and they're supposed to clear all that. And everybody in this condo complex is geriatric, so they're not shoveling their own snow.
Oh,
So I was like, yeah, she's like, I can't even get out of the house. As long as I don't have power, as long as I can't have power, I'm okay. I don't care. So
oh my God.
so my daughter ended up going. She was going down to visit anyway. My daughter ended up going to the next day. It was still buried, so she dug her out. So
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a hassle. Hopefully the warmer days are.
yeah, they're not used. Southern Connecticut isn't used to getting 2 feet though. I could tell you, I grew up there. That's Armageddon for them. So anyway, moving on.
Moving
We
on.
have news
We have
and we have a
news.
Galileo update. So go ahead with the
Yes, we have
news.
news and the Galileo update. In the news tonight, I got a bunch of news tonight. In the news tonight, it's been over 4 years since we've had any Orville.
Has it been
But
that long?
the room, huh? What?
I said, has it been that long?
Yeah, yeah, it has, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But rumors are abound, and they've been abound for all 4 years. So I mean, nothing new here. This is just the rumor mill at work here. Seth has confirmed that he has 10 fourth season scripts like ready to go. It's just, can he get everybody back? The cost of the series has been a factor. I don't know, man. My fingers and toes are crossed. I would love just a little more Orville, maybe like a
Yeah, I
mini
don't
series,
know.
a movie, anything.
I wonder if it was a moneymaker for Fox at all, like, or if they considered it a loss leader of some kind, um, because of those shows are always very expensive to make. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, I don't even remember what happened at the end of the third season, if there was a cliffhanger to it.
Huge battle, huge battle
Yeah, with the robot
with the
people. Yeah.
baddies. Yeah,
So
with the robots.
yeah. Oh,
Uh,
anyway, well,
anyway.
hopefully they'll get it together, or they'll get the money, but we'll see.
All right, The Boys. I love The Boys. You love The Boys. Their spinoff, Vought Rising, is about to finish filming. In the meantime, The Boys last season, fifth and last season, drops another trailer tomorrow. So we can check that out, and The Boys will be back on April 8th. I
That's
cannot
another
wait.
show
I
that did a
really love that show.
long. Yeah, it's a great show. It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
Um, and but it's been a long time since the last season. I know we had 2 seasons
A
of
V or
of the
Gen V.
Gen V. Yeah. So
Which I also like. I also like Gen
yeah,
V.
no, it's good. It's not
It's
90210.
no, it's not 90210, but it's not full on The Boys. It's like The Boys slightly lighter, but not really
Slightly
all that much
lighter.
lighter.
It's yeah,
It still hits hard with the grossness, like
it's pretty graphic. It's pretty
it's
graphic.
pretty
Yeah.
graphic. Yeah. All right, moving on. Nathan Fillion and I am very curious about this. I don't know if any of you guys have caught that new series of shorts where Nathan is going around collecting Firefly cast members. A new series of shorts credited to Nathan and Once We Were Spacemen. Once We Were Spacemen is his podcast with Alan Tudyk, have been seen on social media where Nathan goes to each member's, place, knocks on the door and tells them it's time. And they're like, it's time. Yes, it's time. But time for what? Time for what? So
Yeah.
at first, oh, it's just a promo because they're doing a convention. Like they're all getting together for a convention. But Fillion has said it's not a convention, it's not a podcast, and it's not a crossover. So now fans are a Twitter. So there are rumors that Disney might be exploring some kind of revival. I don't know. I like my fingers and toes are crossed. Like,
let me tell you, as a hardcore Firefly fan, if this turns out to be some kind of something really lame, I'm gonna be really, really pissed.
Like, it will. I was reading people's comments underneath the thing, and one of the people commented like, read the room, Nathan. Like everything's going to shit. Like the world's not that much of a great place right now. So please don't break our hearts. Like we're fragile.
This is something we need, please. And it's totally doable. The thing is, it's totally doable. You have all the cast is still young enough to do this.
Yep.
Get Whedon back on board for writing. Come up with a reason why they've been separate. Have him going around, picking them all back up to get them back together for some reason. Some kind of a storyline, even if it's just a movie or like a limited seasons, like a limited run thing. Do something. It amazes me. We're talking about this is the one show I think more than any other show ever, maybe except Star Trek, that has been wanted by the fans to continue more than any other show. Period.
I agree because we all felt we got shortchanged.
Yeah, wickedly.
It deserves it. It needs it. Please, Nathan Fillion or whoever's in charge of this. I don't know why it's Nathan running around doing this.
Well, yeah, I don't know either. Maybe because he does. Now they were on Frakes' and Brent Spiner's podcast.
Oh, really?
Just recently.
I have to go check that out.
I sent you the link. I literally sent you the
Yes, you did send me the link, and I was like, I will check this out, and then I never checked it out.
And so that's a good one if you watch. That's what is it called? Dropping Names is the name of it.
Dropping Names, yeah.
They were like even Frakes was like, how did you come up with that? It's like you took our name of We Were Spacemen. I'm like, that was so great. We're all spacemen.
All four of them were spacemen.
Yeah, all 12 were spacemen. So yeah, so they took our name. Awesome. So it's not a bad. Everybody is cracking me up because every Star Trek actor now gets together with another Star Trek actor and they're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So the podcasts are plentiful.
It's a thing. Like the rewatch podcast, like what's her name? Starbuck she's doing a Battlestar rewatch. And I know that Richard Speight and Rob Benedict do a Supernatural rewatch podcast. Like it's a thing now that actors like actually sit down and watch.
So the thing with Frakes and Spiner is that they say it's not Star Trek. It's not a Star Trek podcast. They're not there to talk about Star Trek. Although who was it? I think it was Dr. Moon. Dr. was saying he's like, yeah, they'll get to the second or third episode and they'll be talking Star Trek.
And then Star Trek. Yeah, the conversation always comes back around to Star Trek at some point. Like there's no avoiding it,
No. So and of course, So anyway, moving on.
I got a lot more news to go here. Rumors about it's rumor night tonight. Rumors abound that we might see Obi-Wan in Ahsoka season 2. It is set to release this year, but no specific date is given. This follows rumors that Ewan McGregor shot scenes with Hayden Christensen for Ahsoka season 2. Okay, sure, why not? I'm fine with that. Whatever, hopefully we have some good Star Wars coming.
Now, was it last week or did I see this in my brain that they were planning another Andor to wedge in another season of Andor? I saw something that they were looking at doing another Andor that's supposed to fill in from the end of the last show to Rogue One.
Interesting.
And I think they're probably doing that. Disney's like, we had one good show that made money and we only did 2 seasons.
We had one good hit. I would be down for that only if it's the same writers.
Yeah, it's got to be done in the same way. I thought we were pretty much there at the end of season 2. I mean, I thought they pretty much were saying, okay, this is like the next thing is him going and picking up Jen Erso.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I thought, I don't know how much they can wedge in, but they didn't really tell you how
Yeah.
much time there was between them.
Just a
So
little bit.
it
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
be a year, it could be 6 months, it could be a week. We don't know. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so I thought it was you, but I guess it was something I saw online.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of
Yeah.
salt.
No, whatever. Well, okay. I hope we have some good Star Wars coming. But right now, guys, as of this moment, we have no new Star Trek coming. This is the first time in over a decade that there is no new Star Trek in production. And let me explain. The second season of Starfleet Academy just wrapped like last week in Toronto. And so with that done, and the fourth season of Strange New Worlds is wrapped. The fifth season is wrapped. All the filming is done. So it's all in the can. That means there's nothing else to be filmed. It's done.
And they haven't announced anything new either.
They haven't announced anything. There have been a lot of pitches, but they have not announced anything. Now, yes, we're still going to see these episodes that they film. Of course,
right?
We have those episodes, but there's no new seasons or whatever.
There's no shows or plans beyond what's been shown.
Adding to this is that Alex Kurtzman's contract with Paramount is up this year.
Yeah,
he talks like, no, I'm staying. He does say that plans are being made for Star Trek into 2027 and beyond. He won't say what those plans are. And he also said no. He was asked if he thinks Star Trek Academy will be the last Trek show that he launches, and he said no. Also, more complications. Paramount is about to merge with Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns HBO. And they did announce, Paramount did announce that Paramount and HBO Max are going to be combined into one streaming platform. So assuming this merger goes through, by next year, Star Trek could be living right alongside other big franchises like Game of Thrones, or Warner Brothers has Harry Potter and Batman, stuff like that. So we're going to hang out and wait and see what happens. However, that brings us to the second part of this news article. And this is the first and hopefully last time I ever report on Wall Street. Paramount debt has been downgraded to junk. It has been downgraded to BB+, which officially puts it in the junk category. And you're probably wondering, okay, Marybeth, what's that got to do with anything? Well, when you have been downgraded to junk, if you need to borrow more money, you have to pay a lot more interest. And large funds like pension funds or whatever are legally prohibited. They cannot invest in you. So you have fewer sources of capital to manage your debt and to do things like make new TV shows.
Basically, what it is their credit is crap.
Yeah, the credit is crap.
That's what it is.
Because they're in massive credit rating.
You have a bad credit rating.
Yeah, they have a bad credit rating. They just borrowed beaucoup de bucks to make this merger.
And I don't know how they're. So how the heck do they buying Warner Brothers?
I don't want. I'm not getting into the.
I mean, they literally that's why Netflix bailed. They're like, you guys are this is too much. It's not a good deal anymore. And yeah, I think the government.
So they're in debt. Okay, so the company's like, oh no, we're gonna we're gonna search for reductions in corporate overhead. We're gonna reduce marketing expenses. We're gonna optimize the combined real estate footprints. That means they want all the offices in the same building, whatever. However, this also includes selling off various IPs, and that includes Star Trek. So there is a very real possibility, and I don't know what percentage, if it's a slim possibility or a big possibility, but there's a very real possibility that Star Trek as an IP can get sold off and go to Netflix or Amazon or something. So strange, so weird.
And you know what? Weird. I'd be totally okay with that, because just about anybody would have to do a better job than they've been doing currently with it. In my opinion, it's just my opinion. I don't like the new stuff.
I kind of feel like I agree with you there. I really do.
I could see Netflix or Amazon doing a better job with it, honestly.
Yeah. I also, because I don't want to get political, but there is a political component to this merger. There is. And I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I'm just going to say the Star Trek, what's the word? Your philosophy doesn't really match the philosophy of the
Under
people doing the
current
merger.
political
That's
climate,
all I'm
no,
gonna
it
say.
does not.
That's all I'm gonna say.
There's not a lot of infinite diversity and infinite combinations going on right now.
No, no, no.
At this point, Bill's saying Star Trek on Disney. I'll take it. I mean, they didn't do good with Star Wars. I agree, but let's face it, this Star Trek. I agree, Bill. What you said earlier. I think Star Trek needs to be shelved for a
Maybe give
decade
it a
or
little
so.
vacation.
I think it needs a
Give it a
decade. I
rest.
think it needs to be rebooted, redesigned, and looked at back to what its roots were. Get back to what made it why people like the show, and not worry about current political climates or
Yep.
current,
Yep.
you know.
I mean, Star Trek was always political. I get that.
Well,
And
it's
everything.
political, but what I
But
get, I don't know what I'm talking about. I
they had a
guess
structure. I know what you're
it's just
saying,
like
Rizzo. They
they've
had
gone
their
like
own structure.
all they care about is showing their this. I don't even know what they care about anymore. It's like the stories are just all driven about current
Trends.
climate. Like it's like they're just trying to hit this one
That's what the
demographic.
original. I mean, the original series was making fun of the Vietnam.
They did it
War.
cleverly though, with good writing, and I think that's really the point I'm trying to make.
That's what's
Writing
lacking.
has been
That's what's lacking is
abysmal.
disguising. Like Black Mirror does a better job of this. Love, Death, and Robots does a better job. Like they all hold up a mirror.
A lot of people do a better job.
Yeah,
and I
and
think
Star Trek's failing
it's
miserably.
clever. It's better writing. I don't know if you watched that other video I had sent you the link about. The guy who's calling it millennial writing, and no offense to the millennials, but
I saw.
but
No, I watched.
he did kind of go through a lot of. I didn't agree with everything he said, but a lot of things he did say is like, if you look at certain shows, you'll like there is a pattern to them, and it was like, what made me so frustrated, I think, with the current stuff is the colloquial English that they've been using in the shows doesn't fit Star Trek. Even
I wanna
this
go
Star
back.
Academy is the worst with it. It's just so bad.
Yeah.
And I can't say, I just, the little stupid trying to be silly and funny, like the whole, I know I keep bringing this up, but I just totally lost the combat. I swallowed my combat.
Yeah. So here's the thing. On Starfleet Academy, I'm going to give us a tiny, I'm not going to give them a swallow my combat pass. No. But I'm going to give them a slight pass for not being competent because they're kids. They're not competent yet. But on Strange New Worlds, there should have been way more competency happening. And Disco, there should have been a fuck ton more.
It's just too much emotion. I think in the characters,
I don't want to travel through space with people who are having nervous breakdowns.
Yeah, everybody's having
a competent captain who's going to take care of us in an emergency.
Exactly.
That's what I want.
And I don't necessarily agree. I agree to some. You're right. Starfleet Academy, you're right. They're all young and they're supposed to be. But the thing is that
they should
they're
be striving
supposed to be the best of the best.
The best
at
of the
least
best.
It was when during, and to get into Starfleet Academy, you could still become to enlist in Starfleet and maybe work your way up to be an officer, kind of like you would in our current military. But to go to the academy, you had to take tests, and it was hard. Remember the whole Wesley Crusher thing and psych tests.
You sent me that link, and I watched it about what millennial writing. And I guess I kind of digested it in the back of my mind. And then I went and saw a show recently, live show, people singing. And the first 4 or 5, maybe 6 songs were all millennial songs. They were all personal issue songs. And they were all millennial guys, millennial kids. And I was like, and I told you, this is where they live now. This is where these kids live. And I can't move them from where they live. I wish they wouldn't fuck with my stuff, but I can't.
No, I know, and I understand that they're trying to hit that demographic. The problem is I don't know if, and I haven't looked at the ratings for this show, if it's even working, or because I don't think the millennials and the Gen Zers even give a crap about Star Trek.
No, I mean it's got pretty. Those who do defend loud and proud. Good for you.
Oh yeah,
good for you. But and then there's unfortunately what do you call it when you review bomb? There is review bombing, and that does happen. But for the most part, most of us are just like.
No, I watched the first episode. I hated it, and I stopped watching it.
There's been one good episode every week I watch in the hopes, but no.
Yeah, it's just too much emotional stuff, and I think just because I do watch some reviews on some of the episodes, and I'm like the one girl who's supposed to be she's a hologram the doctor, but yet sometimes she can be affected by
hologram and photonic. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes she can be affected by the environment and other times she is, and it's like
She can't be shot, but she can stand on the ground and hug people?
Well, that or she can be shot sometimes. It's like, depending on what the mood is at that.
Depending on the needs of the writers, the lazy
Exactly.
writers.
So again, it's such a all right. We spent on do we have more news?
No, we have no more news. But hey, can we update our
Yeah,
Galileo?
So first of all, anybody who has already pledged, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We are up to the last I checked, currently at $221,663 at 528 backers. Guys, we can almost 10 days
just
left.
Flipped the 222.
We yeah, did it flip?
Yes, it just flipped.
Yeah. So what we're at now, we have so just so you guys know, we have enough money.
More.
We have enough money to finish the building.
Yes.
To do the interior of the building so it looks like the shuttle bay and get it lit and all that stuff. We have enough money to build the observation deck, which will be your entryway into the shuttle bay. So now what we're at that volume wall, which is our big stretch goal. So we need 250,000 total for that, to put that video screen behind it, which will allow not only the shuttle to have its own bay, but to let it fly. We can put it in space. We can put it on a planet. We can put it anywhere we want in this volume.
We can put it in the Doctor Who TARDIS tunnel.
We can do whatever we want.
And make the jump to light speed with the stars, like in Star Wars.
Yeah, so close. So we have some new there's some new rewards coming out soon. So please always keep up to date. You should get email. If you've already pledged, you guys get the emails early. So like we had what we were calling the Holy Grail. We had pieces of the original 11-foot model. So when Ed Marecki had done the refit to do some updated lighting in it, they needed to remove some wood from the nacelles. This is back in the early 90s. Well, we were able to, he kept the wood and we were able to obtain pieces of it. So those went so fast.
They did.
So I think we might got one more, but you got to wait. So if somebody's waiting to just keep an eye out, because we might get, so those went super fast. So, and then we have, I think there's maybe one or two pieces left of the shuttle. If you want a piece of the actual Galileo from the one that refit. So there's some really cool stuff. John Eves is going to be doing some really cool lithograph print stuff signed that it's going to come out soon. So if you have already pledged and you're looking for something else, you can always do that as an add-on if you haven't pledged. And even if you guys can't afford any of the really big stuff, any amount we appreciate and be part of it.
I think it's still $7. I think
$7 and yeah. So the reason it's $7 is that all you have to do is pledge that $7, and then you can go and do the add-ons, which is the T-shirt, a hat, the little glasses, the patch, the pin. So you can add all those on separately, whatever you want. There are levels where you get all that stuff in one shot. So, just be careful if you're doing that. But if you just want the T-shirt, let's say, you can just pledge $7 and pledge and add the T-shirt onto it, and you're done.
Yes. So, and if memory serves, guys, I believe there's actually a box where you can just put in your own amount, whatever amount, with no strings attached. So
you can add. You can, of course, if you don't want any award, or you're just willing to donate, there's a button for that. Donate without reward. Which of course that means we get 100. Well, I shouldn't say 100% of the money. Kickstarter takes its chunk.
Yeah, Kickstarter takes its chunk, and there are a few things we got to pay for. But yeah. I cannot tell you how grateful we all are, including James. This is so important to get this piece of television history safe at the Star Trek set tour, which is quickly becoming the museum for Star Trek original series.
It is.
So, and for many things Star Trek.
Yeah.
So we're so grateful to all of you for contributing. Please continue to share. I know you have been. Would you please continue? We're only about 28,000 more now until we hit that last stretch goal.
Yeah, we're close. We're so close, so we can taste it. So we will have another update on Sunday evening again at 7:00, just like we did last Sunday. To guys give you, maybe they'll have some. Brian and Dave will have some more some cool stuff that they're going to be dropping. I don't know. I just help with the content, so I don't have all the deets on a lot of stuff. But we're keeping pushing, and then we're going to do right before the end, which is on a Sunday on the 15th at noon is when it closes. We're probably going to do one more update right before that, maybe that morning or the night before. We haven't decided. And then we're going to be on Roy's Sci-Fi. I know we're kind of jumping ahead to the end. Good night, folks. No, we're going to be on Roy's Sci-Fi Tie-Dye on the 13th to do with Dave and Brian to do the not only talk about the Galileo but talk about Metamorphosis. And then we're gonna have Dave and Brian on our show on Wednesday, a week from today.
Yes.
To do Galileo 7.
So Galileo 7, which is
I
my
think that's
personal
up to date
favorite.
now. That's our update.
Yes. All right. With all of that, and that was a lot. With all of that, Rizzo, what are we drinking at the end of the world?
A nuclear daiquiri, or that's how my mother-in-law used to pronounce it. Daiquiri. She was British, so you should say daiquiri. And the waiters never knew what the hell she was asking for. A what? So yeah, this one. It's overproofed white rum, which is basically 151. Green chartreuse, which is like an herbal liqueur, lime juice, and some. That's the differs. I can't even pronounce this. Falernum liquor. I don't know. I can't pronounce it right. Anyway, there it is. I'm sure if you go and Google it, you can find it, but figure it out.
What is the difference between regular rum and just the?
I think it's that it's like, well, there's like white Bacardi's like white rum, and then you have like Bacardi, like the 151, which is 151 proof. It's just higher octane. So
lime juice and Difford's Falernum liquor.
Nobody generally drinks that 151, or they just use it as to light the center of a volcano ball.
Oh. It's literally flammable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You get up over 100 proof, stuff burns.
Can be lit then.
Yeah. So, all right. So
that will destroy you from the.
Oh yeah, you don't want to drink. You got to be careful with like that stuff because then you get up into like Everclear, which is basically grain alcohol, and if you drink that, you can go blind.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That's not good.
Stuff. All right. Let's talk about Riz. Okay, can I just tell the audience real quick that. An audience, I hope you understand me. I'm just going to say this. I watched this movie Friday night. This movie is a very depressing movie. I woke up Saturday morning to certain current event news. I think you know what I'm talking about. And it was like, woo.
Yeah, this is not a feel-good movie.
Not a feel-good movie.
Not intended to. Okay, so this was an ABC movie of the week, if you will. Yes. Special event movie. There was a lot of controversy whether they should even have made this movie. At its time, this is still we're getting towards the end of the Cold War. We're kind of, and we talked about this a little bit last week when we did Damnation Alley. You grew up in a time where we were constantly under that fear that this could happen. And it was kind of that, like as I said, as a kid, I think it was the one thing that I was truly scared of.
Yeah, me too, because we saw it on the TV all the time. Did you actually do any duck and cover drills?
No, I think they had pretty much realized that was like a 50s and 60s thing. Yeah, I think they pretty much realized there was no point in doing
There's no point in doing it,
and like I said, I grew up in Southern Connecticut where, we had Remington Arms, we had Winchester Arms, we had Sikorsky Aircraft, we had Electric Boat, we had General Dynamics. Connecticut, I always knew as a child, Connecticut would be a smoking hole. If we ever went to war with the Russians.
We were in Boston, so Boston.
Yeah, it would just be a giant hole because that's where most of our defense contract, a lot of them were there. So this movie came out, and it was really the purpose was to kind of show people, and kind of make awareness. And they even admitted at the end of the movie, this is probably not even as bad as it would actually be.
Yes, that closing.
There's a closing little statement that they said, this is a depiction. It would probably be much worse, and I agree.
Yes. And I agree. I absolutely agree. Agree.
They put some money into this. They put some effort into it. The special effects were groundbreaking at the time, or at least very advanced at the time, to do the nuclear explosions and the people being irradiated and basically fried. They kind of had that, which was the most disturbing part of the film, really. I found, and then you get towards the end when they're all pretty much dying of radiation poisoning.
That was horrible.
Kind of very,
From the time those missiles launch and they're watching them launch, and that realization settles in, like the understanding. Oh my God, they did it. They went and bloody did it. that settles in, that was very disturbing. And then yes, from the entire rest of the movie was just, and
Yeah.
on TV that night, they did not sell any ad spots for that whole second half of the movie, because what promoter would be caught dead serious? Like,
You're gonna jump into a
right?
furniture ad or something, in the middle of the thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the whole second half of the movie ran uninterrupted, and then immediately after was not Frontline, a Viewpoint, an episode of Viewpoint where they talked about it. Yeah, Rizzo, this was every bit as depressing now
It
as
was.
it was then.
It was. I had literally hadn't seen it since I was about 16 when this came out. I hadn't seen it since it aired. I think probably because it was disturbing and I didn't want to watch it again. You know what I'm saying? It was just a film that even as a teenager, I was like, yeah, no, I don't need to see that again. Really the whole first half of it's a little over 2 hours, which is very long for a television movie. Considering it was made for TV. So it probably ran at least 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours, I think, on broadcast when you figure, well, you said the second half they didn't run ads, so maybe it was a little 2.5 hours. Yeah. But the first hour was just backstory on these people, and of course it takes place in Kansas.
All it was like, here's regular people living their very normal, very regular lives. Which was rare. I mean,
it was a lot of farmers and people that live near the silos.
And then the folks in the
still
city,
there, by the way,
university and at the hospital.
Yeah. So, and of course, they knew that they would be a target because the Russians knew where those missile silos were, so they knew that they would hit them. Which is kind of, when you think about it, after they've already launched, they're just empty tubes.
Yeah. So why?
Not really at that point. What are you blowing up? But of course, they hit the cities.
Yeah, of course.
The one thing they didn't do, which I thought was pretty good, is you really didn't know how the rest of the country fared. You just had this one community near Kansas City.
But that's actually, you know what? Very, very accurate. You wouldn't
know. And until the president gave his speech, there was a part where the radio, and he just basically, it's all patriotism and bullshit.
Yeah. All communications would be dead. Oh, Bill said he had to do duck and cover. Bill, I'm wondering how much older you are than I'm 54. So,
I'm 50. I'm 59 and didn't do it.
And you didn't do it. So yeah. I just
you're old, Bill. What you
guys, for any reason, feel like you want to watch the movie and that episode of Viewpoint where Carl Sagan and I don't know who else are arguing about whether or not we should use nuclear deterrence. There's a link for that, and if you want to just watch the Viewpoint argument, that there's a link for that. It's long. It's long. You're getting like 3.5 hours of content if you click on this.
This was actually reshown in Russia several years later to them.
I watched it in 1987. It was shown in Russia, and I watched a video from a Russian saying his memories of that. Do you want to hear what I learned?
Sure,
because I think it's interesting. The Russian, where's the Soviet? Okay, so it was on TV in 1987. So by 87, it was kind of perestroika, meaning there's a bit of a thaw in the Cold War. The Russian talking about the movie actually said, I'm not sure how common it is to make a movie and it goes directly to TV. Yeah, we have those in this country. It's called made for TV, but whatever. He noted that his parents were only making 320 rubles a month, and they had splurged on a color TV, which was 600 rubles. So it was on a payment plan. So they watched this thing on their new color TV. And at the start of the movie, a guy had to come on and explain the structure of the movie because they worried it would be confusing for Russians, because our American movies will jump from one, like you just met random families in Kansas. You met random people in Kansas, seemingly unconnected. And it jumps from one person to the other. And they were worried that would confuse Russians. And they had to explain, yes, you're going to meet a bunch of different people. And then it will explain what happens to all of them after the bombs drop. They did have American movies at the theater, but this was only the second American movie ever to be shown on Russian television. The first one being They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Which is an odd choice. Russians were stunned. The Russians, They Shoot Horses, don't? You've heard of that?
No.
Yeah, you know that movie. You just don't, Russians were stunned at what they saw. They had no idea it would be possible to survive. They had no idea there might be pockets of survivors, and they had no idea how horrible it would be for survivors. He said they never really talked about the aftermath in the Soviet Union. He says our kids were not doing duck and cover drills, but then by then we weren't either. He said, but the older military kids, he said the military kids in high school. So I think for them, that's like our junior ROTC. I don't know if you had ROTC in your school growing up, Rizzo, but we had something called junior ROTC, which is like
Not in the
ROTC
school.
college.
Wasn't part of the school. Yeah, no.
The older military kids were doing drills, but for the most part, they just all figured they were dead. No one was thinking about putting food away or making a bunker or anything like that. He said it was a huge eye opener as to how bad things would be. And then the Soviet newspapers, and we need to talk about this because it's still not clear even here in the States. In the Soviet newspapers, they said the Reagan administration didn't like the movie because it made them look bad somehow. Like, I'm not really sure.
Well, again,
how that worked.
They never say in the movie who was the aggressor, who launched first, whether we were launching a retaliatory strike or a first strike.
Yeah.
And they're kind of arguing, like, what's the point
ambiguous.
at this point? And, and there's the great quote that they've said it was Albert Einstein said World War III or World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Yes,
meaning because there's not after World War III, there's not going to be anything left to have.
World War II will be sticks and stones.
Yeah.
I'm about to put the YouTube link to the Russians' view of this movie. I think you should take a quick look at it. It's fascinating. What he remembers. He's probably about our age because it seemed like he was a teenager when it was on in 1987. But yeah, Nick Myers, fresh off of Star Trek: Wrath of Khan. With Carol Marcus, Dr. Carol Marcus said, hey, BB, come on, we're going to make another movie. Yeah. So off she went. Nick Myers deliberately, and there's a lot of I'm hearing conflicting things. They say the Department of Defense told Nick, yeah, we'll help you, we'll consult, but you must make sure Soviets are the aggressors. And he said no. And so they withdrew some of their help or something. He deliberately chose to make it completely ambiguous who the aggressors are. You do hear in the run-up, you hear in the background on the news, there's clearly a conflict going on. It seems to be happening in Germany.
Yeah, West Germany and Berlin.
Berlin,
remember Berlin was split, which it still boggles my mind that was like that for years. Berlin was split in half in the middle of Western Germany. Western world Germany. Yeah, Berlin was blocked off, and just little section of half of Berlin was controlled by the Soviets.
Yeah.
And it was all about over that, and it escalated and it got into the Middle East, and then ships were fighting and sinking each other, and you heard radio clips of it escalating. And
then you do hear that a nuke went off over there. I know I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but you hear a nuke has gone off over there. And I think right about then, that's when the rush on the supermarket scene happened, somewhere right in there.
Which is pretty accurate. Look what happened with just COVID.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well,
and I still think, because the areas around where the bombs did drop, there was survival, like you say, survival pockets, but the radiation, most of those people were dead. They just didn't know it.
Yeah, they just didn't know it. Yeah, they were the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit tonight. This movie did get some things wrong, and we can talk about that. But this movie got a bunch of stuff right, and I want to talk about that too. Which one do you want to tackle first, the right or the wrong?
Dealer's choice. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Okay, we'll do the stuff they got right. This movie gets high praise. So I stumbled across another video, actually by a prepper, and it was fascinating to see his view of this movie. This movie got a bunch of stuff right for its realism and showing how fragile our modern systems really are. And what you just were talking about, Rizzo, at COVID, when everyone rushes to get, that's called something called normalcy bias. Normalcy bias is a cognitive bias causing people to underestimate the impact of a disaster and think things will kind of continue to function even if there is a disaster or even if there's warning signs.
To not be prepared, basically.
Yeah. Not prepared. So people choose, and I kind of have seen it in myself, People choose to continue with normal life until events are so far gone and so far progressed, you can no longer ignore them. And by then it's too late. You can't do any prep. There's no time for prep. It's too late.
And we kind of saw that with BB doing. Remember, she was making the bed, and the husband's like, he's like, what are you doing? He's like, we need to go into the basement.
At that point, it was more like denial, not
he was just freaking out. Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like, but it is true. It's like we.
However,
we do that. I mean, yeah, I get that, and then we try to in the last.
We try to do it. Also, the daughter, BB and the daughter were both, the daughter runs out. That is a really great example. That kind of strength, being like, in your bunker or whatever for days on end with no information, and you don't know anything, like when can you come out? What's going on? Are we all dead? What is happening? That can take an enormous mental strain on people. And it did on the daughter, whose name, Denise, I guess her name was Denise. And so, but yeah, so like, communication failure, accurate in this movie. Infrastructure collapse, accurate. So that means no power, no water, no communications, no fuel, no electricity, no food, none of that. Infrastructure gone. No sense that help is coming, accurate in this movie. No help came. There was no help.
No, there was a little bit. There was one military truck giving out food at one point.
Yes,
and they ran out, and so we don't know where that came from. And we assume that the American government was still, obviously, since the president gave a speech, that there was still,
someone made a speech at the end.
There was some kind of government left, and hopefully they could pool enough resources eventually. But remember, this movie is only showing you what happens after the first 3 days to a week, I think, at the most of it.
Yeah, it's not even showing like the long-term horror. Like there's more horror to come. Like so much more horror to come. It showed that so people struggle in those 3 days. Those people struggled without power or supplies. Food became scarcer and scarcer. People got sicker and sicker, and that radiation sickness kind of takes a little bit longer, but that's neither here nor there. And social order kind of began to unravel a little bit. That's about right. And then places like the hospital immediately became overwhelmed, like completely overwhelmed, with people needing help, and it kind of quickly deteriorated. And they were doing the best they can, but
we actually, at the hospital where I work, they do actually have plans in place for major.
Oh, that's amazing.
Now they're not looking at it as an apocalyptic event, but major weather event, or terrorist attack or something like that, so that we are prepared and we have a whole system in place to. And we did it actually during COVID. We actually had to reassign areas to do certain kinds of intake of patients so that we weren't spreading it. And I don't know if you remember before COVID, you remember the Ebola scare?
Yes.
There was the thing at the women, we had the nurse that she was exposed and she refused to go she was up in Maine or whatever, that whole thing. So we actually were setting up special. We didn't get, I don't know if we got a case or more, but we had like a whole ingest area that was separate from the rest of the hospital just for those, to take in those patients and keep them completely isolated from the rest of the population. Like they have these plans, whether they're going to work at the time.
Yeah. And part of those things working, and this is another thing that this movie got right, is that there's didn't seem like there was immediately an organized national response. And information, even for people who wanted to prepare beforehand, information before and then of course after it was incomplete, confusing, or possibly contradictory. So preparing and then surviving after is bad. And the secondary effects can have just as much suffering as the initial impact.
Oh yeah, well they say, and the one at the university, they had at least some science equipment that they could read the radiation levels in the air. And it is true that weather patterns would affect where that radiation will blow from, cities that were bombed to areas that weren't. So just because you weren't necessarily near, that doesn't mean you're not going to deal with fallout. Nuclear winter is a real thing.
Yes.
The one thing I think they got a little wrong, and I could be wrong, so maybe it was the EM pulse. Yes, that will shut down, but not like permanently.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
It would damage sensitive electronics, but like cars and things, most likely after the pulse, after a little while would come,
But yeah,
they would
how
start
long?
to
Do we
work
have any
again.
kind of time
I
increment that
don't
it's like?
know. It's probably on the order of minutes. I don't know. Again, nobody's really tested it to that
Yeah.
degree. I mean, they've tested EM pulse. They have machines that will create the pulse without the bomb part of it, and they know that, but those generally will knock out the power, and then within a minute or two, it all comes back. But it
Something.
could damage sensitive circuits that are
Yes,
not
it could damage important
protected.
circuits. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So it could
Something.
damage things permanently, but like simple electronic like lights and things like that should work right after that pulse has passed.
Yeah. Something
To my
else they
knowledge, if
got
somebody knows
wrong.
different, then please correct me because I could be wrong.
Yeah, if somebody knows better than us. Something else they got wrong, and I think this was just done for the sake of the movie, is that they just sort of showed radiation sort of generically everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone sort of generically got sick the same and that's not actually how it happened. Radiation fallout would depend on geography, wind, where you were at the time of the blast. Like there's a bunch of factors that will go in to how much you get exposed. So not everyone will have the same exposure. But I get that they couldn't maybe do that for the movie.
Yeah, and they had a good point though. Like they were talking to the farmers, like, "Oh, you need to scrape off the first couple inches
Scrape
of
out five
soil,"
inches, and they're
and the
like,
one guy's
"How
like,
do you
"And
do
do
this?"
what with it?
Yeah,
Like, you know,
and leave
we
it on
got
a big
eighty
radioactive
thousand,
pile on
hundreds
the
and thousands
side.
of
Like,
acres
what the hell?
of land. What do you expect this? How do you expect
Yeah,
us to do this?
I mean, it was a great point. It was a really, really
Yeah.
great point.
So that's the thing. That's the thing. Everything. It's not just the air. The water would become irradiated. Any animals would you couldn't. I'm saying that's the problem. Is that's where all the and then you have the added factor of disease from all the dead people,
Yep,
which they were starting to address, and that's
yep,
what they'd have to do, mass graves and just get them buried, and out away from people as fast as possible. The people that were in the cities that got evaporated were the lucky ones, and in
yes,
these scenarios, in my opinion,
yeah.
they didn't know what hit
So
them, and that's the end of it.
yeah, I agree. And if it comes, I want to be in the impact zone. I don't want to know. I really don't. So Reagan watched this and apparently was deeply moved, but not deeply, but was moved by it. And they do say it did impact his willingness to strike a deal with Soviet Russia at that time to kind of step down what they were doing. So, in that case, I believe the movie is 100% a success. I will give it 2 thumbs up for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was very impactful in its day. It was
Hugely
controversial in its day. It's still, if you watch it today, I mean, yeah, you could tell it's dated. Just the cars, there was the scene where they're all lining up to use a payphone before the bombs drop.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, that clearly would not be the be on their cell phones.
And
Um,
admittedly, the special effects were dated, but you know what? They
they
still
weren't
made their
bad. They
point
were. I
perfectly.
still found that the most disturbing part of the movie,
Yeah,
like
the
watching
actual
that and people being blown away, and
yeah.
it's just
It was kind of the effects sort of remind me of Terminator. They had the same kind of, and here's the skeleton and then it's
yeah,
gone.
skeleton kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Terminator was you're thinking of Terminator 2, right?
Yeah, when she's hanging on to the
So
thing,
that was
yeah.
what? That was late 80s or early
This was
90s.
83. That was early 90s, I think.
So not too far down the road.
So so like I said, the DoD was going to help them. They did get a whole bunch of stock footage for this movie, some of which came from a CBS movie called, I can tell you what it was called, First Strike. And it depicted military drills and operations, airborne command, the silo, we see that, command center receiving news about incoming attack, and the B-52 bomber crew.
Yeah.
The silo guys, they start the countdown. We never finish the countdown. It's because in that movie, First Strike, they get blown up before they can finish. So there is no footage of them finishing. But you know what? It's still effective. It was still incredibly effective in this movie because you hear them going 5, 4, and then it just cuts, and then you see, you just see. And so
Yeah.
it's really crazy. But the military people were all real military people. There were only maybe 12 or 14 actors from Hollywood. Everyone else in this movie, and there's a lot of people in this movie, were all the residents of Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
Good for you, Lawrence, Kansas.
They do give them a thank you for
Amazing
doing that.
contributions
Yeah.
you have made. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people deciding
And
to come.
considering this I think it added to the impact that these people were out farmers. They were out in,
Yeah.
part of the country that they probably think people would think they're never going to get touched. Everybody always thinks, oh, New York's got to be a hole. Los Angeles has
No.
got to be a hole.
John
But
Lithgow, when they're in the barbershop, John Lithgow makes the point. He's like, no, 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 we're right near Whitman Air Force Base, and we're
right,
this and we're that.
yeah, all those missile silos, of course.
And
Yeah,
everybody realizes, oh crap, we're dead.
right. No, and they're all still there.
And
They're all still there. Let's talk. We did talk about cast on this a little bit, but
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of pretty much all-star cast for its time. You had Jason Robards, which you guys
Yep.
would recognize him. Joe Beth
Yep.
Williams,
Of course.
she's been in a ton of stuff. Steve Guttenberg, very young Steve Guttenberg. BB Besh, we mentioned. John Lithgow, we mentioned. Trying to think of who else we have that's of note.
Oh, John Callum. He played Holland or Hollis or Hollins
Yeah.
on Northern Exposure. He played the farmer that.
Yeah, he was a farmer.
BB Besh's husband. He
Yeah,
plays
she's
her.
BB, and that was another thing. He just gets randomly killed by some
Yes,
people that have gone feral.
And
Basically,
there's squatters there, and they kill him. And that's I think very accurate. I think extremely accurate.
These people just went feral.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly what there was another scene too where they were metering out justice, like where they had a firing squad.
Yeah, that went by so quickly. Yeah.
They did, but they mentioned it earlier that they were starting to
loot.
Because people were starting to loot, and they're saying they're starting up firing squads or something for people looters. Because the guy said firing squads for what? And for looters and whatever. Yeah. It's just crazy because that there's a certain, unfortunately, percentage of our population that would probably take too much advantage of the situation.
Yes.
Of
course.
So the end of the movie, as he goes back to who Jason Robards plays a doctor, he's dying. He knows his wife is dead because she was in Kansas City when the bombs dropped at their home. He goes back there. That's kind of the end of the movie where he goes back to see his house, what's left of it, which is nothing. And there's a great scene where he's kind of looking down at the city, and it's just there's almost nothing standing.
Yeah, it's just right.
And I've had that experience in a similar way, which was Homestead, Florida, after Hurricane Andrew. I went through there sometime after it, and not that wasn't like right after it, and there were basically no homes there were 2 bricks still on top. I mean, it was like you couldn't even. That's the thing. I don't know how he even found his house because there were no landmarks left because everything was flat. And the only thing at that time in Homestead was their post offices were standing. The schools were standing, and a few houses, believe it or not, built by Habitat for Humanity.
Wow!
And the reason they thought it was because those are all built by volunteers and not professional construction. And somebody who doesn't really know how to drive a nail in, they get it halfway in, and it bends over, and they just bang it down flat, and they figured that actually saved those houses because there was probably too many nails, that there more than there would have been, and half of them were bent over holding the damn roof.
Extra nails and stuff. Wow.
But I mean, it was a very similar. That's the first thing when I saw that scene is it popped in my God, it's like Homestead, Florida.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was wiped clean by the wrath of God, as they say.
So the 80s were a scary time for us. We were having a whole nuclear theme. The top 10 most scary nuke movies. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the top 10 are from the 80s. Miracle Mile is 88, Threads is 84, Day After is 83, Testament is 83, Special Bulletin is 83, Countdown to Looking Glass, which someone just mentioned in the chat, was 84, and When the Wind Blows was 86. It just was a whole decade of being terrified that you were going to die.
It wasn't just, it was 70s too. It was in the 70s too. We didn't see the movies, but we always had that threat. And, you're watching the news and, I mean, obviously we're all too young to remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I imagine imagine the stress that people went through with that. I know my dad was in the Army then, so
Yeah.
He was not ready. He was not thrilled about that either. But yeah, that luckily the Russians backed down. Otherwise, we might not be here having this conversation.
Yeah. The
Um,
70s, yeah, there's been a lot of issues. I remember the 70s also brought us the Iran hostage crisis, which just
yep, that was
added
right
to
at the
tension.
end. Yeah,
Just
79.
added to the tension,
And I
Yeah.
really, the funny thing is in the early 90s when the Soviet Union finally fell and okay, they're going to become a democracy of some kind and really honestly I did have a sigh of release like, oh, finally that threat
Yeah,
is
we
gone. It's
all did.
over.
We all did. Yeah.
And then here we are again. God knows what the hell's going to happen and I'm hoping that clear heads prevail at some point, but I don't
Do
have any
we have
faith
any?
in our current
Do
leaders
we have any
to have
clearance, Rizzo?
to make
You tell
to,
me.
to make a decision that is reasonable and clear.
You tell me.
I don't know. So
So, all right, let me just look through my notes. I think that's all I have.
yeah,
Rizzo, this was a horribly depressing movie. Can we not do this again?
yeah. I mean, we
Can
had
we?
talked about doing different after we did Damnation Alley, which it's
Yeah.
funny because I watched this and then of course I went and played Fallout, but which is a very silly version of this, if you will, if that makes any sense. It's kind of
Yeah,
a very
I
comical.
understand.
But yeah, no, this is it's a sobering film. It's a
Yeah,
sobering film, I
it is
think.
a
And if you
very
haven't seen it,
sobering film.
I would recommend watching it. If you're not, if you don't think it would disturb you too much, because um, it
Yeah, I
does
just
kind of
dropped the
bring
link. It is on
home
YouTube.
it brings home the severity of what
Yeah,
they're talking about. I think we all know in the back of our heads what we're looking at. They mentioned that the what Hiroshima was nothing compared to what we have now as far as bombs. I mean, it's just that took out the entire city, in Nagasaki. So those were very small compared to what we have now.
because
So
yeah, I mean nowadays they have every denomination you want. You want a little warhead, you want medium warhead, you want a big warhead, you want the
yeah,
mega size warhead.
yeah. They have what they
You
call a
just want a
tactical
dirty
nuke.
bomb? Do you want a suitcase dirty
Yeah.
bomb? I mean, it's just
But I mean, like
unbelievable.
even from a military, they have those tactical nukes, which are very small, but they'll take out.
It's scary, scary
Very
times. I
scary.
would
Luckily, hopefully nobody's ever used those because they realize,
and
I
may
think,
it
that's
stay that
that's a
way. And
catalyst.
may it stay that way.
Let's hope
May it stay
so. Because it's not just the people and the cities that you're destroying, you're literally killing the planet.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Yes.
just this is not like,
It's
oh,
no,
well, it was a
those
war and
farmers are
now
not going to return
like
to
you had
farming
in the
after a couple of
past
years.
and
I
you
mean, look at
recover from
Chernobyl.
it.
You still can't go to Chernobyl
No,
after
it's
how long was
still
Chernobyl?
that was the 80s, right?
Was it the
Yeah.
80s?
I think it was the late 80s.
Look at that
Around
real quick.
well, it was after 3 Mile Island, which we dodged a bullet.
1986.
Yeah.
1986.
So, and yeah, Chernobyl's still hot. Yeah. You can't go into that. You can go into parts of it, but
Yeah,
and that
Bill
wasn't a
says that
bomb, that
speak
was a
Wizard of Oz.
reactor,
Yeah, Bill.
so.
All
All
right.
right. On
Let me
that
tell
note,
you what Roy and Phil are doing. Roy, Friday, Roy is doing Creep Show. We all remember Creep Show. That's kind of a popular one.
the
That's
HBO with the Crypt
no,
Keeper?
the older one.
Okay.
The other one, yeah. And then that's Friday at 7. On Sunday, March 8 at 8 p.m., he's having child actor Mimi Gibson on to talk about the Golden Age of Hollywood show, which is happening Saturday, March 28th. And then, of course, on Friday the 13th, we're going on Friday the 13th, Rizzo and I will be on to do Metamorphosis and talk all things Galileo. Phil, in the meantime, Phil says congratulations on the Kickstarter hitting the first 2 stretch goals. He's not having any guests on the Captain Phil's Planet tomorrow afternoon, but the Friday night freeform, he will be having the person in charge of the Philip K. Dick Film Festival in New York City. And that sounds like a really cool sci-fi film festival. He's going to be talking about the various films that will be showcased. And he will also be vending at the Albany Toy Show in Polish Hall in Albany. That's on Saturday. So he says, come buy some toys. Rizzo, what are you and I doing next weekend?
Well, we said it earlier. We're gonna have actually Dave and Brian are gonna come back on next Wednesday. We're gonna talk more Galileo if you guys haven't had enough of it by now. But we're gonna do we're gonna also talk about the Galileo 7 episode, which is I think the first episode we saw the Galileo, if I'm not mistaken. Although was it Metamorphosis? One of those two.
No, I better look it up. I think it might have been Galileo 7. So yeah.
So you guys by the middle of this month, you will be Galileo'd out. I think
you will, but you know what? The Kickstarter ends on March 15th, the Ides of March.
Yeah,
it ends on the Ides of March. So after that, I promise we'll talk about it.
But that's when the real work's going to begin. Honestly, we'll have the money, but we're going to have to build the building. We're going to have to get the construction, the lighting. I mean, there's so much work that's got to get done. Yes, the money is great and that's wonderful, but there's a lot of work to still do. We have to get the shuttle ready. They're going to move it down Main Street. That's going to be an event. It's going to be like rolling out Artemis 2 down to the launch pad. I mean, they're going to, because we're going to have to have I think we're going to have the nacelles and everything on it when we move this thing, and then we have to slide it into the.
I know
it's going to be quite the procedure. We haven't quite figured out all the logistics yet. So anyway, it's going to be a very busy next 6 months. So
it will be, yes, as we prepare for our big June event.
Yes,
and then prepare also for the big September event. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. So, all right. On that note, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you always. Good night.